Too bad the sun can't come and chase the years away. At 83, the seeds of youth have all been planted. I see the harvest in a faded memory. Another morning, how I'd love to see my children, but they've all grown up and away to other lives. Jim is a doctor, Bill is a pilot, they don't call often. And we lost Sarah in the fire at 65. Now the days are growing longer, and I am much too old for anyone to hold. How I wish that I was stronger to make the trip back home. Can I make it all alone? Another morning, feed the cat and watch the TV. It's days like this when I miss Catherine the most. I lost her last May when the sickness took her from me, but I still talk to her like she never left the house. Now the days are growing longer, and I am much too old for anyone to hold. How I wish that I was stronger to make the trip back home. Can I make it all alone? Another morning I've watched the children play, without a thought or care how they'd spend their lives. Someone should warn them that the years come slowly creeping, and one day they will see the world through my eyes. How the days will grow much longer, and they will be too old for anyone to hold. How they'll wish that they were stronger to make the trip back home, but like me they'll be alone. Yes, I wish that I was stronger, for I know I must go home, but it's hard to all alone. Welcome to the another morning COVID concert, and we have an issue happening here. There we go. It's no longer an issue. So we'll get some business out of the way right quick. As everybody knows, we're all in lockdown, and so our only way of getting close to you guys is this way, online, and also our only source of income. So if you want to send us some moolah for to buy rice and flour and baby chickens or whatever the hell we're going to end up eating here before long, I don't know. You can go to paypal.me/JP Cormier Music, or send an e-transfer to jpcormier38@gmail.com. It's all in the description of the video. And I just want everybody to know that if you guys have been saving our lives, the broadcasts that we've done have helped us survive. So really appreciate that. And everybody is being so generous these days. And I know that Dave Gunning, I watched his concert for the National Arts Center last week, and people were really generous, and he was able to give money. He did so well, he ended up giving $2,400 to the food bank. So I just want to commend everybody that's out there and that are still supporting the artists that they love in this new way. But I told somebody the other day, this is almost, I might just keep on doing this even though after the lockdown ends, because I can go to work right here in the studio. But it is fun, and one of the reasons it's so fun is because we're doing these online concerts, and we sometimes leave them up on YouTube for people to watch, and I've been forced to come up with different concert ideas, and not the norm, the same concert I've been doing for probably 10 years with a few variants here and there. So we came up with the idea of doing the whole album of Another Morning as a concert, and that's what we're doing here tonight. And I know for a fact that the producer of this album, Paul Mills, is watching this, and Bev, I love you guys, and I think Bill Garrett's watching, and maybe even Grit Laskin. Maybe Grit's out there watching. Hi, Grit. And this album started my career. For many years I've stayed away from the material on this album, except for the most popular ones, right? And I thought for years that it was because I didn't like the way the record was, or I had myself talked into a bunch of reasons why I didn't do some of the songs on this record. And it turns out, after rehearsing this material all week, the reason I didn't do this material is because it was too goddamn hard. And it's ridiculous. Like I literally had to sit in this studio for a week and woodshed this material, because I don't know what I was on back then, but I was doing stuff that I don't do today. And it's kind of sad, because I realized also that I was a pretty good writer back then. And that was another thing that, you always, as a songwriter and a recording artist, you always love your most recent baby. And so as the singer-songwriters albums came out over the years after Another Morning, I kept trying to focus on them. And so this oldest album, released 25 years ago, it still stands up. And I really honestly didn't even know that until this week. I honestly thought, boy, it's going to be tough going back to do this material, because I wrote better stuff after that, and blah, 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 blah. But I was pleasantly surprised that it was very difficult. And I know why Paul Mills chose all these songs, because he's a guitar player, and a really good one. And he was working me out on this stuff. I remember during production that keys were changed, arrangements were changed. He pushed me hard, and I guess the proof is in the pudding, because it was nominated. It was my first Juno nomination for Roots Traditional Album of the Year, and it was my first ECMA for Roots Trad Recording of the Year, or I think Vocal of the Year, and it started my career. I toured this record for 2.5 decades. It's really something, but it happens. It's sort of like the people tell me that they think it's my quintessential recording, and I often disagree with them. I'm like, no, you should hear Now That the Work Is Done, or The Messenger, or somewhere in the back of my heart, and I'm always thinking about the new material, but this stuff really is good material, and I'm doing it in order that it appears on the album. So of course the first song we did was Another Morning, and so the story behind that song is pretty touching. I think that might be another reason I stayed away from some of the material on this record, because it's very personal. And it wasn't long after I moved back to Shettycamp for the first time, lived in my father's hometown, that I met my wife at the time, her grandfather, Joe DeVoe. And he was an amazing man. He played the fiddle. He was a good fiddler, but he couldn't keep his finger bent anymore, so he put an elastic around his finger and held his finger like that so he could play the fiddle. And he was just the kindest, gentlest guy. And he married a woman in the nursing home, and quite late in life, very late, if I recall. And so they were there in the nursing home in Shettycamp, and they had matching rocking chairs. This is you can't make this stuff up. They had matching rocking chairs, and they would watch the soap operas every day together. And they would yell at the screen, like, why are you doing that? And it's like, they'd yell at the characters in the stories, right? and always be, they would always agree on their advice to these players in the soap operas they watched, and they would sit there in the two chairs every single day, and he called her Boo Boo, and she called him Yogi. And I just realized that I have two guitars named that. I never even thought of that until this moment. It's going to be hard to talk about some of this stuff. I might end up breaking up for this is over. But, so he died, and it was a great loss. And I played his funeral. I don't remember, I think I played the fiddle at his funeral. And after the graveside service, we stopped back at the old folks' home where she was there alone. And I walked into their room and I saw the two rocking chairs. And I sat down in his chair, I guess to say goodbye, I guess. And she walked in the door and she saw me sitting in his chair. And I thought, oh God, she might be angry. And no, she smiled. And she walked over and she didn't even take her coat off. She sat in her chair beside me. And I looked over at her and I said, wow, this is pretty strange, isn't it? And he had been sick for a few days in the hospital before he passed. And she looked at me and said, I still talk to him like he never left the house. Every morning. It's the first person I talked to and the last person I talked to at bedtime. And that line gave birth to the entire song. I never forgot. It blew me away. And I left there and literally went home and wrote that song. And so that's how it started. And that's how that one instant in time with someone, created the whole record, because Another Morning was always the title of this record. I think that maybe Paul could clarify at some point when we're talking, but it's been 25 years, but it always seems like to me that it was always the title record of the record and the title cut of the album, and it was something about the song. And it became very popular. It went to number 2 on the country charts in the East Coast here, and was played over in Europe and Scotland, Germany, all those things. And yeah, so that's the story of that one. The story of this next song is not quite as noble. So, I'm, like I said, living in Shetty Camp for the first time in my life. And I wrote a metric crap ton of material between 1993, well, really 92 and 95. There was a 3-year period where because I'm not normally like this, I'm not very prolific as a writer. And I wrote so many songs of varying, subject matter. It was incredible. And I was just getting it out of my own life. And so I was jotting ideas down on everything I could get my hands on. And I was out on the road in the States and for some of that time, and I was at home now, living in Shetty Camp and playing really small gigs for very little money, trying to get started. And there was all kinds of things I was writing lyrics on. So one day I'm sitting in my back bedroom, which was sort of my studio at the time, in this little rental house up in St. Joseph de Moines. Actually, Captain Moines, sorry. We live right beside the Scarecrows, so everybody knows in Shetty Camp knows Joe Scarecrows. And I was literally going through this file folder of all these stupid little, like, napkins and toilet paper and cigarette packages, and there was a pizza box lid in this folder, and it was all like greasy. It had remnants of cheese and pepperoni on it. It was literally a pizza box lid. And I pulled it out, and there was 2 lyrics on it. If I could only fly, if I could build a bridge. At that very moment, I wrote this song. If I could only fly, if I can build a bridge. I carry my love across that Spearman Ridge. If there was just some way I'd pull a carriage through the snow, take you over Kelly's Mountain to the village there below, and no one would ever know. Oh, the snow was high again in the year of 1910 when I rode over Kelly's Top from Lake Bredor. Oh, the mountain I'd come without rapier, without gun, to fetch my father's order from the state and store. As I purchased my supplies, a pretty maiden caught my eye. Her beauty shone upon me like the sun. As my heart melted away, I heard somebody say, that is the daughter fair of Hugh McGowan. Well, she knew she'd caught my eye, and she smiled as she walked by, saying, meet me when the stars come out tonight. On the high road I will wait, by old Don Campbell's gate, and we'll sing a song of love there in the moonlight. If I could only fly, if I could build a bridge, I'd carry you my love across this Spearman Ridge. If there was just some way I'd pull a carriage through the snow, take you over Kelly's Mountain to the village there below, and no one would ever know. I knew McGowan was a man with a very heavy hand, and his daughter was so meaning to his life. All her suitors they had come to the wrong end of his gun. As long as he was living, she'd be no man's wife. But I met her beneath the stars, and I took her in my arms, and she said, please take me with you when you go. Beneath my father's cruel hand, no longer I can stand. I'll leave with you and he will never know. If I could only fly, if I could build a bridge, I'd carry you my love across that Spearman Ridge. If there was just some way I'd pull a carriage through the snow, take you over Kelly's Mountain to the village there below, and no one would ever know. We were halfway up the hill when a gunshot broke the still, and I felt the pain burn deep within my side. Said, my God, we have to run. My father has a gun, and he'll never let you take me as your bride. In my pain, I slipped and fell, but it wasn't hard to tell that the McGowan pierced my soul and far behind. Pulled her sobbing to my breast, saying, here I've come to rest, but there's something that I wish before I'm dying. If you could only fly, you could build a bridge. You'd carry me my love across that Spearman Ridge. Please tell my father why you had to bury me in the snow. Near the top of Kelly's Mountain, where the winds forever blow. Oh, no one will ever know. Near the top of Kelly's Mountain, where the winds forever blow. Or no one will ever know. Whew. That's Kelly's Mountain. Yeah. That song, when I first wrote that song, it had no modulation in it. The modulation was Paul's idea, and it was brilliant. And the other thing about the song is that the solo in that song has remained the same for 25 years, because it was off the top of my head in the studio at the time, and I believe we punched in a couple spots where I flubbed one or two notes, but I I had to keep the solo because well, it's so hard to do that I couldn't see trying to ad lib a solo every night live. So although I have from time to time because I forgot the solo, but generally that's the thing. That's the same solo I've played in that song for all these many years, and it's a beast. I'll tell you. I had a lot of questions about that solo, and people want tablature of it and everything else. But the fact of the matter is, I probably couldn't tab it out anyway. I'm not sure how. If I think about it, I can't do it. So the next song in the list is I almost forgot this. On my first fiddle record I ever put out, which was recorded by Bill Tripp in Sanford, North Carolina. I'm sorry, there was a fiddle record before that done on CBC with Glenn Meisner. But the first one had ever come out, as you know, when JP came onto the scene. Before that, I was just John Paul, and I made an album called Return to the Cape. And in those days, I was playing the fiddle all the time. I was obsessed with violin, and spent many years obsessed with it until it kind of ruined my hands and my shoulders, and I had to quit doing it about 10 years ago. I sort of gave up on it. I still love to play, and I still love fiddle, but I just can't play for very long. And so I was writing fiddle tunes back then. And of course, they were the hardest thing I could possibly think of. There's reels on that record like the E flat tune, and there were a bunch of tunes that the contest fiddlers really liked, and that I wrote, and they were really, really hard. I don't play them anymore. And but I'm also a huge fan of slow airs and beautiful melodies. And I was very much into, in those days, using classical orchestration to do things with, and I used a lot of Bach and Mozart and Beethoven ideas in my music, especially fiddle music, and because I was inspired actually by an Andre Gagnon tune called the Petit Concerto for Tijan Carignan that was released in the 70s, and where Carignan played with Jascha Heifetz in this massive medley with full orchestra behind it. Just that the marriage of those two things stuck in my head forever. I heard that for the first time when I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and it stuck with me forever. So I had written a tune, a slow air called Highland Dream, and it was on Return to the Cape. And when I was preparing to move home from Alabama in early '94, I couldn't help but think of the island, and I was just dreaming of being there to finally be at home, right? And of course, I'm a huge Gordon Lightfoot fan, and started thinking about the Canadian Railroad trilogy and all the people that went out there. Not only the Chinese and the other foreign nations that came to build the railway, but there was probably a lot of people from the East Coast that ended up going out there to work because they were hard-working people. And the melody for Highland Dream, the slow air, seemed like a perfect match for that story, and that's how this got written. Come from the east, far away, where the Cape and hills touch the starlit waters, my peaceful their lays. I came to the west where the work was plenty, building the steel highway. So I left on my own, and the lass who loved me, vowing to come home one day. And last night we walked over the mountains, through sunset fields touched with gold, and all the birds sang her name in my Highland dream. I was once again home. Beneath the hot prairie sun, I will swing this hammer. $1, 1 mile a day, and I lay the rails down from the Rockies to Mabu myself, to see my love's face. Oh, the iron road runs to the east like silver, polished by our own sweat and tears. And many are those who have worked till they've fallen. They came with their dreams and they died here. Last night we walked over the mountains, through sunset fields touched with gold, and all the birds sang her name in my Highland dream. I was once again home. Oh, the winter is nigh, and my strength is waning. The fever's red in my brow, but a full skin of gold I've earned with my labor. I'm just a few days from home now. Oh, the black midnight holds the promise of morning, but the sunrise I'll never see. Lord, take my soul back o'er the mountains of Mabu, to see if she waited for me. Last night we walked over the mountains, through sunset fields touched with gold, and all the birds sang her name in my Highland dream. I was once again home. Just like the birds, my soul sings her name in my Highland dream. I have made it home. The Highland Dream. Yep. That was another story just out of my head, and so let's see here. Oh boy, here's a song here that I've always loved this song, and this I noticed something else that I was doing back in those years that I didn't really do anymore after that. Maybe I did a little bit. I think I probably did a little bit. But when I look at some of these lyrics and some of these songs, I realized I was an activist, and I wasn't even really aware. I think it was before activism even really took a center stage. I mean, there was people always fighting for the environment and stuff like that, but I look at some of the veins of these songs and realize that I was, even then, 25 years ago, I was looking around and going, geez, this would be a lot better if it was simpler. And this song came from a chance meeting in the lobby of I think it was a Christmas Daddies in Sydney. I was passing by a good friend of mine named Fred Lavery. And he was jamming with somebody. And he walked up to me and said, "Check this out." And he went like this. And I went, "Wow, what is that?" He said, "I don't know, I'm just fooling around with it." I said, "You want it?" And I said, "Phew." I said, "Can I use that?" He said, "Yes, absolutely." And I took it home. It was so beautiful that I wrote this song. It turned out to be sort of a protest song about life in general and progress of time robbing us sometimes more than it gives us. And his guitar part was so gorgeous that I felt the chorus couldn't be any less complicated. And so on the album, Paul straightened this right out and sort of made us play a straighter rhythm on the song. But the original version of the song is pretty cool. And it's I'm gonna do it tonight. I'll play the original way I wrote it. It is very difficult. Another reason why I stayed away from this material, because some of this stuff is absolutely ridiculous. And but I really wanted to. When I was writing back then, the guitar parts were incredibly important to me, because I was a guitar player. Really, I was just starting out as a songwriter, and so the guitar was very important to me. What it did in the songs had to be as interesting as the lyric, if I could do it, you know. And how are we doing on there for folks? We got lots of folks in?
242.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for being with us. And this is the song spawned by Fred Lavery, called Gone. If I can make it through it. My father fished these waters when I was 10 years old. It doesn't seem like all that long ago. Now the boat that built my memories lies rotting on the shore, and father's hands will haul her nets no more. Gone, all we knew is gone. Just another old forgotten song. Gone when all is said and done. Who remembers, is there anyone? Marcel played the violin at every country hall. Now the years have stole the magic from his hands. He likes to tell me stories of how things used to be, how progress has changed more than just the land. Gone, all he knew is gone. Just another old forgotten song. Just the final setting sun. Who remembers, is there anyone? I watch the waves come rolling as the eagle takes the air, and my spirit longs for all that was before. The ocean gives her warning, the signs are everywhere, and the dreams of man lie shattered on the shore. Dawn will not miss a till is gone, just another old forgotten song. Gone the final setting sun. Who remembers, is there anyone? Who remembers, is there anyone? And I pray to God I'm not the only one. Gone, gone, gone. Wow, that's tough. That is a hard song. But it's cool. I like it. It's been a long time since I sang it. Matter of fact, I should make note that some of these songs I never did live. Ever. They were never in the show. That's one of them. Everything I've done so far, I believe, has been in the show. You know what? Something tells me I may have forgotten something. No, I guess I didn't. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Oh, God. All right. So, again, I was very much excited to be in Cape Breton. And it's funny, you know, I wrote a lot of these songs in this album I wrote in my little house down in Alabama while I was waiting to come home. And this is one of those songs. I don't know what I was thinking about this day. Well, the song sort of tells a story of its own. And like I said, there was a period there where I was just writing constantly. And I still remember writing this song. I lived in an abandoned taxidermy shop in Alabama. It turned into a little house. And I remember writing this song and walking around this little shack playing the song and looking at all the drain holes in the floor because it was a taxidermy shop, right? So they literally took animals in there and dressed them and stuffed them, and it was a weird place. And when I first moved in there, it was like jars of eyeballs in the shelves, and it was pretty weird. And so I remember, you know, writing this song and being super homesick for a place that I'd only ever been once. I only went to Shetty Camp one time before I moved there, and that was in 1990, I believe, or 89. I think 1990. I went up there with the CDC as a sound consultant, and we went up there to discover Rita and Mary Rankin, who came down to CBC. We had them come down to CBC Halifax and cut an album. They're incredible sisters. I guess maybe some relation to the Rankin family, but they weren't part of that group. And so I went up there, and that's the first. And on that trip, we ended up going to the Doryman Tavern in Shetty Camp, and I played the fiddle in there, and met my uncle Sam for the first time, and it was something that stuck with me. And so I remember walking around this old taxidermy shop, looking with my, just looking down at the ground, singing the song, and counting the drain holes in the floor. And this was one that was definitely in the live show, because I wanted lots of up-tempo stuff in there. But anyhow, it's called The Island. The heart of a young man is ruled by desire. It only climbs mountains if the next one is higher. Over the hillside and down through the glen, I have followed its calling back home again. Mile after mile I have searched but in vain, for the place where my dreams won't be drowned by the rain. Over and over the lesson I've learned, that the place I should be is where the home fires burn. Where the mountains are weeping and calling my name, and the sea sings the song of my fathers who came. The island, my heart will remain. Music and magic and friends by the fire, the memory of a place where the spirits are higher. Last looks at beauty and tears of goodbye live in my soul and burn in my eyes. Oh, the mountains are weeping and calling my name, and the sea sings the song of my fathers who came. To the island, my heart will remain. Whoops. The road's turning back now as time turns the page. I no longer feel the shoes of a younger man's age. She let me go with her blessings back then, but I know she'll be glad to have me back home again. Where the mountains are weeping and calling my name, and the sea sings the song of my fathers who came. To the island, my heart will remain. Where the mountains are weeping and calling my name, and the sea sings the song of my fathers who came. Island, my heart will remain. On the island, my heart will remain. Good God Almighty. Oh, I don't really play that much anymore and stuff. Good Lord. So anyhow, we're gonna, after that cut on the album was a fiddle set, and I think I'm gonna forego that tonight, because the reason being is if you know the album, the fiddle set has a massive classical orchestra in it at times, and but I would like to mention the two people that I wrote the tunes for in that set, Joel Chasson and Kieran O'Hare. I believe that's the two people that I think it's who wrote the tunes. It was a set of two reels that I made, and then another trad reel called Down the Broom. And another example of my insanity with classical music and using everything I could possibly throw at the wall to see what's stuck. And so we'll let me pass on that one tonight, because all it would just be the three tunes. So I'll let you listen to it on the record if you want to hear it. And after that came this song. And this song, I'm not even sure. A lot of my as a young guy, I had a lot of love songs early in my career, and was always falling in love with whoever, and as you do when you're 18 and 19, and so I wrote a lot of this stuff, and sometimes I wrote it for sometimes I wrote it for people I knew, like, I won't mention who, but there's a lot of songs that got written, love songs especially, that I wrote because of watching somebody else's story, and they come to me and be all, and it's going wrong and whatever, and so I'd steal their story and write it, and then I'd sing it for them, and it would often make them feel a lot better. As a matter of fact, I think I might have saved a couple marriages that way. And but I remember writing this song. I wrote this in a tour bus that belonged to Enoch Sullivan, and it was again a very complicated guitar piece. I actually started writing it in the bus, and then I was working at a music store in a little town in Alabama called Demopolis, Alabama. Me and a buddy of mine, Joey Sullivan, owned the place, and there was a few tools in there, like a little 4-track tape recorder and microphones and a little bit of sound system and stuff. And it was a great because it was a very quiet town. It was a pretty quiet store, so I had time to practice in there. I did a lot of writing in there, and I remember demoing this song in the store on this little 4-track cassette recorders, like a multi-track recorder, which was pretty high tech for those days, and using like a terrible like Radio Shack keyboard for backup, but I did a few tracks and kind of made it sound sort of real. And this song has been played at a ton of weddings, and I think I've performed it at a couple weddings. But yeah. And it's a beautiful song, and I hope I can get through it. The guitar part again is pretty intense, but I love playing it. It's actually fun to play. It's a challenge to play this tune. Anyhow, it's called "You Saw Me." Sometimes this world goes by faster than we can see. Somehow you looked inside and you saw me, ravaged by all the things this world could make me be. Through scratched and dented pride, you saw me. With gentle hands you pulled on heartstrings torn and frayed. Now an empty soul is filled as you saw me. I never thought that God would send an angel down to rescue me, but when I look into your eyes, I see that this was meant to be. Now that courage lives once more, here's a promise I will keep. Forever faithful by your side, you'll see me. When your trials are near at hand, fair weather friends, all up and leave. Look around to see who's left, and you'll see me. And as we hold the hands of time, gold and silver rust away, we'll remember the joy we shared as you saw me. I never thought that God would send an angel down to rescue me, but when I look into your eyes, I see that he sent you to me. When our souls have walked away from this weather-beaten form, don't be afraid, just hold out your hand and you'll see me. right behind you to that promised land, the CD. Wow, it's a pretty song. It is a pretty song. I don't know why I never stuck it in the show or any of those things. Just never did. And but I did get a lot of requests to do it at weddings, and yeah, it was done at a lot of weddings. And I think people mostly use the CD. Once in a while, I get a request to go in person. Here's another one that's pretty twisty, and another song that when I look back on this, I was like, what the hell? I was writing songs like this, because I don't believe I do it anymore. Maybe I do, I'm not sure, but this song here is when I first got back to Cape Breton, I was seeing a lot of sad things happening. Seeing, like, seeing the cod fishery, the moratorium come, and a lot of people going getting out of work, and miners getting out of work, and saw the people struggling in that island. And even though they stayed pretty damn cheery, you couldn't be at a better place for a party or a jam, and people took you in without question. And I kept seeing all these things, and I guess that's why I wrote this song. I don't remember writing this song. I don't remember what spurred it or any of those things, but I know at the time I was very concerned about the things in this song, and yeah, so. Called Hell Freezing Over. The sea will never die. We'll fish her till she's dry. The day will never come when all our fishing's done. And we don't care what research said, the problems in their head. When the devil sits on ice, we'll believe it then. What's that sound? What's that sound? Hell freezing over. What's that sound? What's that sound? Hell freezing over. Mistakes and not bend the rules of nature till they break. The ancient trees stand tall, each day 1,000 fall. Cold hands will plant the seeds that justify our greed. We don't care if it looks bad, there's money to be had. When the devil's eating snow, we'll stop and think. What's that sound? What's that sound? Hell freezing over. What's that sound? What's that sound? Hell freezing over. Can we learn from our mistakes and not bend the rules of nature till they break? hatred will never die. It's bred in you and I. The red, the black, the white. We've fought the endless fight. And there is no such thing as peace when the world is free from grief. When the devil's wearing ice skates, we'll be there. What's that sound? What's that sound? They're freezing over. What's that sound? What's that sound? They're freezing over. Can we learn from our mistakes and not bend the rules of nature till they break? We must learn from our mistakes, and we won't bend our brothers till their spirits break. Now there's my protest song. One of the many. And let's see now. We gotta get. This is another song that this one was written for as an exercise. This song was really popular too, and I never put this in the show, mainly because it was presented in every way it was recorded, as a sort of a bluegrass number, and it had a lot of pick in it. It was banjo, mandolin, guitar, all manner of stuff going on. It was really a bluegrass tune, and that's exactly why I wrote it. It was not based on anything. It was just I wrote a song. I sort of had the idea for the melody, and I thought it used to be a great bluegrass number because I was living in the States at the time, and I was trying to write material that would be recorded by Americans. And so I remember writing this song. I remember writing this. It came down pretty fast, and it was just a neat little song, and it gave me a chance to play lots of solos, which is what I liked to do back then. So if you hear the original recording that came out on Main Trip Records in the mid-90s, it's a straight bluegrass number, sort of bluegrass folk, but it has everything in it. It has banjo, mandolin, fiddle, guitar, upright bass, the three-part harmonies. And that was the other thing. Built this thing for three-part harmony. And so therefore, it never made it into the live show because I didn't think I could do it justice. And it was such a showcase for a band that I didn't think, gee, just some guy just singing this, whatever. But I got a lot of requests for this song, so I guess I'm going to catch up with all those people who wanted to hear me sing this all these years. Blackbird singing mournful song, high and lonely in the scarlet light of dawn, before those big wheels turn and take my love away, take my love away. Winding river, bring her home, bring her back to me, and maybe she won't roam far away from the one who loves her so, the one who loves her so. If I could catch her, I would run from here to the Oklahoma line, in the hopes that she might stop and hear me cry. Hear me cry. Morning dove up in the sky, go sing my love to her from a mountaintop so high. If she knew, she might not leave me behind, leave me far behind. could catch her, I would run from here to the Oklahoma line, in the hopes that she might stop and hear me cry. Hear me cry. Stars above me, hear my song. Only you could know I was waited for so long, for her love is like the snow upon the hill, lying cold and still. So I'll send my memory on the wind, and I'll be waiting here if her highway finally ends. If she feels something that she cannot see, she know it's only me. If I could catch her, I would run from here to the Oklahoma line, in the hopes that she might stop and hear me cry. Hear me cry. Blackbird singing mournful song, high and lonely in the scarlet light of dawn, for those big wheels turn and take my love away, take my love away. When the blackbird sings in the river to bring her home, God, please bring her home. And that was another reason I never did that song live, because there's no way to end it. It ends on this massively long fade out of everybody soloing over the course chords. And yeah, but it's still, I still like the song. It's still a good one. And this next one is late in the album. My cousin Jarvis used to play bass for me. Long before this record was made, a couple of years he worked with us. And he was always making tunes, melodies. And one day he whistled a tune, a melody for me. And I was struck by it, and I asked him, I said, he wasn't a lyricist, so I said, does anybody ever use that? And he said, no. I said, can I have it? And he said, yeah, see what you can do with it. And I took it home. The next day I wrote this song called the Molly Maid. It was inspired by, well, I thought I was making it up. And that's kind of the scary thing about this. But I wrote the song, and I debuted it for some people pretty well the same day, and was asked when I had been told that story. Because apparently it actually happened in Shetty Camp, and the only difference between the real boat and the Molly Maid is that the real boat went down in Canso Harbor and not Shetty Camp. But it was so close to being the identical story. It was just completely eerie. It was right down to the forerunner. And people have asked me, what's a forerunner? A lot of people don't know what it is. But there's a verse in the song that says the captain of the boat quit sailing because he saw a forerunner on the dock one night. And that actually happened in the real story. Like, there was so many things in the real story, and I know I never heard it. Nobody ever told it. I don't know, I would have never heard this story. And a forerunner is when you see yourself, and that's what happened. And I actually met the captain, and he told me he walked on the wharf and he looked down at the boat, and he was standing down at the boat, and he turned around and looked at himself, and he ran, and he never went to sea again. And so that's just, it's a very kind of a spooky song for me. But I've done it almost every night of my whole career. And there's a lot of special moments with this song, especially over in Shetland. They all know the song over there. And I said in an earlier concert that the Shetlanders flew the Canadian flag when the cod fishery went out from under us here on their own boats. And this song became sort of an anthem for them and my relationship with them. And it's called the Molly Maid. Just a lad I was at 13 years when my father passed away. And I had to take a job as deckhand on the Molly Maid. And the time I spent one summer past turned into 50 years. And the sound she made as she broke the wave still rings within my ears. She was passed to me when I was 23. Captain Mills went round the bend. He saw a foreigner on the dock one night, never sail again. Superstition be damned, I sailed a proud fair maiden of the sea. There was never another like her, and no one for her but me. I saw the time with me in my prime, no man could be my equal. Through the eye of the needle I'd sail her any day. But when I grew older I couldn't hold her, my courage slipped away. So they put a young boy from Kansas at the wheel of the Molly Maid. All the years went by and the tails ran high of the catches we brought in. There were times I thought we'd sink her, but her spirit would not give in. Words are spoken, souls are broken, and the bottle shattered mine. I could see that she'd outlived me, I'd not win the war of time. But I saw the days of mid-level waves, no man could be my equal. To the eye of the needle I'd sail her any day. But when I grew older I couldn't hold her, my courage slipped away. So they put a young boy from Kansas at the wheel of the Molly Maid. I was there to see her sail away in the cold December haze. But the cat's old boy had never seen the lights of the southeast wind and waves. At the harbor mouth, he drifted south right into Lighthouse Rock. And he smashed her keel and he laid her low, while I watched there from the dock. But I saw the time with me in my prime, no man could be my equal. Through the eye of a needle I'd sail her any day. But when I grew older I couldn't hold her, my courage slipped away. So they put a young boy from Kansas at the wheel of the Molly Maid. And there'll never be another likes of the Molly Maid. And I wish that I'd gone down, boys, at the wheel of the Molly Maid. There she is, boys. Next in line on the album is an instrumental that I took off of J. Scott Skinner. I originally heard it first played by a guy named Alistair Fraser, the great Scottish violinist, who made an album with Janelle Cameron and Bobby Brown in Toronto in the 80s. And it blew my mind. That whole record blew my mind. And the first time I ever heard this tune was by Alistair. I'm going to play the tune, just stick a reel on the end of it. I can't do the... It was originally followed by a massive classical opus involving Sleepy Maggie, and but I stopped doing that years and years ago. But we'll play the tune. I still play the clog, and it's a hard tune. The Mathematician by J. Scott Skinner. Just a quick tack of reel on there right fast. So, let's see here. I've missed something. Just 1 second. I'm gonna check my notes. Oops. Check my notes. God help me. Okay, check my notes. Oh yeah, there was something before the Mathematician. We have to do that one because it's another one that's popular. This was all tongue-in-cheek comedy song. I got this from a conversation I had with somebody that I think it was one of my brothers, Barbara Joe. Hi guys. And anyway, they were telling me some story about a relationship that broke up, and they were left with just sitting there alone. And they either said they said this or something, but the guy was sitting there in the house all by himself, and he goes, "Well, life's over again." Like this this chronic relationship person, you know, that can't get anything to work and just keeps going into one relationship after another. So it was so funny the way he said it. Yeah, life's over again. I laughed and laughed. I said, "Geez, that's a great idea for a song." And so that's how this one got written. I should have put this before the Mathematician. Sorry, it's not. I got it out of order. I knew there was something missing there. I have to know this record better than I thought.
People noticed.
Did they notice? God bless you. You're watching. Oh, roses and wine, and your voice on the line tells me I'm falling in love again. And never before have I been so sure that this is the one that'll never end. But as time saunters by, I can see in your eye that I'm only a passing fad. But this ain't the first, and it sure ain't the worst of the broken hearts that I've had. My life is over again, another sad and lonely end. Back to that place where I'm my own friend. My life is over again. Well, I lost my job because you kept my heart a-throb, and I couldn't seem to show up on time. My dog ran away with the keys to my Chevrolet, so now I'm out here hitching a ride. And all that remains is a shadowy vein in the memory of your warm embrace. I gave you the best 7 months of my life, some old LPs I'll never replace. My life is over again, another sad and lonely end. Back to that place where I'm my own friend. My life is over again. Hard lesson learned to know you'll get burned when the fire in your lover's heart grows cold. And your mother likes you more than you ever did before, but the problem is she's 90 years old. Well, I was born to love and lose, and I surely paid my dues. I've earned this pessimistic point of view. So maybe tonight, if the moon is shining right, I'll find someone to break my heart anew. Life will be over again, another sad and lonely end. Back to that place where I'm my own friend. My life is over again. I wrote the book on how my story ends. My life is over again. And there's that. My life is over again. Yeah, that's a funny song. It was really, it's funny to get on the record. But we did need we wanted to do a little, bit of bluegrass kind of stuff, and that one's definitely bluegrass. And there were some tremendous players on that record. Danny Maye, Allie Bennett, Tommy Roach, Bruce Jacobs, of course Curly Boy Stubbs, Jamie Folds, who also engineered the whole album. There were some wicked players in that record, and yeah. So let's see now. This is a song that I've always got requests for this song too. But I never did this song much either because it's so difficult to do it justice, live. And I suppose now these days I don't really care much about what was played on the record. In the last decade, as I've been touring by myself, I just sort of do what I have to do, and people imagine the rest, I guess. And this song came from my brother Joe. He got it about, I don't know, probably 60% finished, the lyric, and he brought it down to me, and I immediately kind of honed in on the melody of it and designed the melody and rewrote a couple of lines here and there. There was some unfinished verses, but the choruses and all that stuff, he had written all that prior. And so it's one of the only songs that we ever co-wrote together. My brother Joe is a tremendous songwriter, and so I wish he had done more with it. He played. He taught me how to play when I was a little kid. He showed me all my first basic stuff, and then he was a performer himself. He had a couple of bands. He led, and was always writing songs. I had always loved his songwriting, but he quit picking guitar when I got better than him. Even though he was one of the first ones to actually play. I learned the Red-Haired Boy from him, the Doc Watson version. He played it first. And everybody was amazed, like Joe, because we just weren't expecting that out of Joe. He was such a Lightfoot fan and Bob Dylan, and here he comes playing Doc Watson, and I latched right onto that and had surpassed him pretty quickly because I just had the facility. I was only a kid, and he hadn't put a lot of time into it, so he just went back to writing songs and kind of left the guitar picking to me. And he still writes good songs, and so this is for you, Joe. I'll try not to mess it up. It's been a long time since I sung this, and I've been rehearsing it this week, but it's a tremendous song about the fisheries called Long for the Sea. There's a sparrow in the treetop singing out my name. He says you'll only learn the rules when they decide to change the game. There's a man down in the chapel calling out for me and my tired old bones. Long for the sea. They made us a promise that they wouldn't keep. We poured out our lifeblood there in the deep, and many's a devil wave was sprayed upon my brow. The fishing was good, but look at me now. Snow falls gently in the fold of my jeans. How can you be a man when they take away your means? I keep my hand on the bottle and my back to the wind. A cold and lonely day, says you'll only learn the rules when they decide to change the game. There's a man down in the chapel calling out for me and my tired old bones, long for the sea. I had a boat down in Dover, built just for me, but they closed up the Narrows, put a padlock on the sea. So now I wander the streets of a dead fishing town, watching an angry tide beat the coastline down. There's a hall just out in Mabu where we all used to go, our pockets lined with silver from filling up the hole. Now the place is dark and quiet, dust upon the floor. Probably only ghosts ever dance there anymore. There's a sparrow in the treetop singing out my name. He says you'll only learn the rules when they decide to change the game. There's a man down in the chapel, I sure hope he prays for me and my tired old bones, long for the sea. And my children grow, never knowing the sea. Thanks, Joe. Atta boy. All right, so there's almost the last one. Got one more to go, and this one was another one I wrote while in Alabama. And let's see, I'm going to do this on the big old 12. Wrote this while I was still down in the States, waiting to come home. And thought about, the history of Cape Breton Island, all the people that went there over the centuries to do great things. And this was really special because on the album there was like a chorus of people that all came in and sang on the course of the song. People like Joella Folds and Max McDonald and Bruce Guthrow, and it was really cool. I felt really special, when that was going on. It was amazing to me. And so I just want to say thanks to everyone, and thank you so much. And everybody stay strong and stay home. And the events of last weekend, we're going to heal from all that. It'll take time, but we will. And so don't let that get you too far down. We all are with you. If you've lost someone, we all love you, and we're with you. And I hope that the last 90 minutes, if you're in the middle of all that and you were watching this, I hope this took your mind off it. And so here's the story of the settling of Cape Breton Island as told by a guy who had never lived there yet. And I want to thank Paul Mills again for producing an incredible album on me. And that was far beyond what I thought anybody could get out of me. And also to the rest of the crew that were involved with that label at the time, Bill Garrett and Ken Whiteley and Grit. And thanks for starting me off. I love you. This is the last number. If you feel like you should want to make a donation, please do. paypal.me/JP Cormier Music, or e-transfer to jpcormier38@gmail.com. And believe me, we need it, and we're using what you're giving us. So we really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody who's supporting all my buddies. You know, there's a lot of us that instead of going to do the 200 shows we're going to do this year, this is how we're doing them. So I'm sorry we couldn't be with you, but we're with you as close as we can get. So I love you guys, and thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who ever bought this record. It changed my life. They say came to the harsh land of this glen with his hands in his heart and the sweat of his brow. He made the land good again. Through his children the seeds of the music were passed, and the secrets of tilling the land. And the ocean nearby held the kinship so deep, giving food up into their hands. And folks in the cities have passed us by. They don't know how they got there and don't care why. But there's a place we recall all the hardships back then. Down here in Gilgary's Glen. Generations passed by and the coal companies came, and the younger men all moved away. Progress, they said, couldn't wait on the dead, and they wound up in early graves. Soon the highways were finished and the trestles stood high, as America took up the slack. And there's many a Scot down in old Boston town, wishing that he could only get back. And the folks in the cities that passed us by, they don't know how they got there and don't care why. But there's a place we recall all the hardships back then. Down here in Gilgary's Glen. Nowadays life is simpler, the land now is still. Now and then a few tourists drop by, and they're charmed by the fiddlers whose tunes tell the tale of that man from the island of Skye. And the folks in the cities have passed us by. They don't know how they got there and don't care why. But there's a place we recall all the good times back then. Down here in Gilgary's Glen. Yes, if life came by twice, we'd all do it again. Down here in Gilgary's Glen. love you. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.